fortunate to have trained to 4,000 recruiters. I specialize training around sourcing, technology, branding, and a bunch of things. And these days, I love building HR tech products, and recruiting monk is one of the products, right? So this is a quick background about me for folks who have not attended my session earlier. Cool. So we'll get going into the topic, right? This topic, I think, the word contextual networking. I'm not sure like how many people would have related it, right? So this is something. This is a term which I've coined myself because there's a need for it, right? So I'll just decode it. What is contextual networking and how it is relevant in a recruiting context, right? How is it relevant in a TA context, right? Today, in the world of automation, right? Everyone can get data, right? Data is not a gold mine anymore. That is what I strongly believe on, right? Because anyone can write scraping engines, anyone can get data, right? Data is easily available. What is very important is how are we building our pool? How are we building our brand? And when we need to do this, we need to have a network which is fairly contextualized to what we do. So in a nutshell, we'll be talking about a bunch of things to tell you what is it we'll be talking. This is the session overview, what you can see, right? One, we'll be talking about what is contextual networking means, right? Putting context. That is something we'll try to understand. And we'll talk about the reason for building your profile around a niche, right? You need to spot one skill or two skills and you need to build your persona, be a talent magnet, right? People say you need to be a talent magnet. So when you need to be a talent magnet, you can become a talent magnet only when you have one niche. Without a niche, you cannot be, right? You cannot be like, let's say, I am into IT hiring. All the IT guys should be following me. No, that doesn't happen, right? So you need to pick up one or two niche and then build your profile around it. So we'll talk about what are the advantages of building or spotting a niche for yourself and then building around it, right? And then we'll talk about pool building, which is the future of recruitment, right? There are a lot of sourcing automations and others happening, but if you can manage and build pools around you, that is the future of recruitment, right? What is the network you have around you, right? That is what will help you future-proof your careers. And then next we'll talk about LinkedIn stories, just a basic overview, because recently LinkedIn came up with this model of stories, which is similar to Facebook and Instagram, right? So how is that we can use it to the best? Right? That is something which we'll talk about because I believe this will help better better relationship with your the report. Very important topic. Connect. Okay.
Hello.
And then
Hey Ashfaq, we cannot hear you properly.
no, no,
Ashfaq, we are losing you in between.
guys, is it fine now? Can you hear me? Is the screen visible? Can you hear me?
Yes, it is. So
Right, it's better. Cool.
better.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Take care. Okay, so we were talking about the overview of the session, and another most important aspect is importance of being a good sourcer if you have to build a contextual network, right? So we'll see why is that, right? If you have to build a contextual network, even someone is in the marketing field, people try to build a contextual network because they want an audience where they can sell, right? An audience around them, a contextual audience to whom they can sell. So when you need to do that, you need to know how to get that audience, right? You need to know how do you reach that audience. So you need to know how to be a good sourcer, right? So that is very important. That is something we'll see how sourcing, being good sourcer impacts building a contextual networking tool. And then the next is tools of automation, right? So there's a lot of automation tools available. To what extent we can use automation? What is it we shouldn't be using? This is a subject which is very close to my heart because I work with developers. I build HR tech products, right? So I keep a hang of a lot of tools around the market, right? So this subject is something which I really enjoy talking about. So we'll just spend a little time understanding what are the do's and don'ts when it comes to automation. What is it we can do? What is it we shouldn't be doing, right? Cool. So we'll get going. So this screen, what you're seeing in front of you, right? The screen, whatever you're seeing in front of you, right? Which talks about network composition. Talks about network composition. So now, if you see the network composition of a LinkedIn, what kind of a network composition most of us have? Very minimal crowd, friends and colleagues, right? Our friends and colleagues, people within our network is a very, very small crowd. That is that layer, that is one pie. And then we have another pie which can be 20-30%, which is recruiters if you are from a TA industry. If you're from other industry, generally you connect with people within your industry so that you can interact, gain knowledge, right? Keep a track of the trends happening. So there's a decent pie wherein we connect with people within our industry, right? And then a majority pie, right? If you look at the majority pie, which is there, like 70% or 80%, our connection is random. What? Based on randomness. So that is how most of the connections are. We just connect in a pretty random manner. So when we do this, if you look at the entire pie composition of the network which most of us build is like this. A small pie which has friends and colleagues. There's a slightly bigger pie around people within our industry, recruiters and talent acquisition people. And there's a larger pie which is what? Based on randomness. So when our composition, that is the kind of a composition which majority of us carry, when that happens, then what happens? That impacts the post engagement, like whatever you post, engagement and views, those gets impacted, right? So whatever you if you post, based on that, the engagement and views which happen, that gets impacted because of the cluster, the composition which we have around our profile, around our network. So this impacts. So this is where creating a contextual network is very, very important. So that what will happen, it will help your engagement and views improve. Today we post our jobs or we post whatever on LinkedIn on our wall. What is the engagement which is happening? Let's say you are posting for a UI developer. How many UI developers engage on your post? Be it likes or comments or whatever, right? How many UI developers? Rather, what will happen? It will be recruiters or people like colleagues or friends, right? They are the ones who are going to like it most of the time, right? So there are two things which we need to ask us. Do we have enough network of UI developers around me so that they will end up interacting? When that is not there, when you don't have enough network, which is a contextual network basically, when you don't have it, then how can we expect engagement and views or likes? Not happening, right? First step is learning the importance and building a contextual pool around you, and then comes storytelling, branding, so that you attract that pool, right? Then the pool will end up engaging, viewing your content, right? This is how currently things are. And if we are doing a contextual network, this is how I need contextual network basically. Contextual network is nothing. You need to define a niche for yourself. Let's say the niche can be DevOps, UI engineer, user experience architect, backend engineers, whatever, right? You define a niche for yourself. Can be one niche or two niche. So I'll tell you how do you decide the niche, right? Whether and to what extent, like what number of niche you can design, right? Whether it is only one you need to stick with, or maybe it can be one or two. That is something which we'll talk about later, right? So now what we need to understand is if we can build a contextual pool, right, around our network, then the composition will look like this. What is the composition? That 75%, 80% was randomness in a general context, right? If you look at majority of the LinkedIn profiles, our 75-80% connections are randomness. It can be based on, let's say, in last 1 year, I hired UI developer, backend engineer, DevOps, big data, maybe like 6-7 roles I hired. So all based on all those 6-7 roles, I would have connected. And there are other people whom I would have randomly accepted for some reason or other, right? So that randomness is too huge in today's context when people are using their LinkedIn profiles, right? You can go look at, put your first degree and put some booleans and see how many UI developers you have, how many backend developers you have. You will understand, okay, to what extent your pool is having randomness. But if you can define a pool and make this pie, which is the larger pie, basically 75-80%, around one or two skill sets, trust me, you have an amazing USP for yourself. I'm not talking about an organization, right? For yourself, you have an amazing USP to sell when you want to go get hired, right? Today it's all about, like, when you're going for a job, it's 30% and 40%, right? In the next slide, we will talk about how building a contextual network tool around your profile will help you get out of the clutches of 30-40%. Today we are in the clutches of job hike, what? 30-40%. We are in those clutches. How building a contextual networking tool will help you get out of these clutches is something which we will see. Okay, so now this is an interesting piece. What is this? The relationship between hiring and context-based networking. The relationship between hiring and context-based networking. What is the relationship? Look, when we hire, let's say all through the year, right? Or maybe for life, if you're part of a company for 3 years, 5 years, there's a defined hiring pattern, right? There's a defined hiring pattern, right? Like generally what happens in a year, there's already a fairly good idea, at least 70-80%, what are the kind of skills I'm going to hire for, right? The roles are already defined, role 1, role 2, role 3, role 5. So these are the roles I'm going to primarily hire, right? This can be some X number, this can be other number. It's already defined, right? What is that this company is going to hire? It's already defined. When it gets defined, what do you need next? Question mark. Right? What do you need? Because the roles are defined. What is that the company is going to hire, right? For next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And we know if you look at the data, what the kind of hiring the company has done, you will get good insights and you will be able to organize your role stack like this. This is the first primary role, which will maybe 500 people. This is 200, 300. You'll be able to organize it. When you can organize your roles this way, right? Because there's a hiring defined, and then you know what is it you're going to hire. Why can't this between the recruiters? Let's say my primary hiring is majorly, if you're part of a tech company, what is the primary hiring? Majorly backend developers. That is what always on the top of the list, right? If you're part of an IT company. Next, it could be maybe UI developers, testers, DevOps, so on and so forth, right? So actually, for an IT company, you can, someone who has basic tech idea, right? What the composition, the need to run an application can easily define this. These are the top 5 hirings where it's always happening, right? 365 days across the year, it keeps happening. Once that is defined, why shouldn't we define the recruiters in the similar buckets, right? Why shouldn't we define recruiters in a similar bucket based on tech stack, right? Based on expertise? And what is happening when we are dividing role clusters? We are open to engage with a specific audience, right? Build a niche around that audience. Now you see this. So the beauty of building a contextual networking pool around, let's say you're building it around your LinkedIn, what will happen? Let's say there's roles, there is positions which is defined. I've just written some random numbers, like let's say 100 positions, second role 100, 80, 40, 60, so on and so forth. Now that is allocated to roles, right? So you have 5 recruiters, it is allocated. Now each recruiter per month, today as per the LinkedIn friend request, the safest side is invitation per day. How many you can send is the safest is somewhere around 100, 120 per day. Right? The safest is what? 100, 120 invitations you can send per day. Now you look at a month, you can send maybe 3,000 to 3,500 invites a month, right? When you're doing that, let's say if the acceptance rate is as less as 10%, right? I'm keeping it as less as 10%, right? It can be more than that based on how are you engaging and all that, but I'm keeping the most minimal, which is 10%. We also use at Recruiting Monk this automation. Our acceptance rate is somewhere between 35 to 45%, which is very good because we address a similar audience, right? But if you're addressing a tech audience, and if your messaging is good, it can be better than 10%, maybe 15, 20, 25, somewhere around that, right? So let's keep it 10% get accepted. You send 3,000 invites, out of 3,000, 3 are getting accepted. 300 people, let's say your role is defined as a guy who is going to build a tool around Java developers with microservices. That is a which you have defined. Now, what is going to happen is when you're doing that, you have 300 people with whom you're connected with. Now, what does that mean when you're connected 300 people in just 1 month after sending 3,000 requests, right? Like let's say Java developers with microservice, 300 people. It means it constitutes to 15 leads a month, meaning how did I come up with that data? How did I come up with the statistics? If you go Google the statistics of average developer or techie spends in one company, that is somewhere between 16 to 18 months. 16 to 18 months is what average time span a techie spends in one company, right? If you keep that statistics in mind, then what happens? Let's say even 18 months, right? A person sticks to one company. That means if you have 18 people connected with you who are Java developers, that means every month there is one guy who would be looking out for a change, right? So if you're connected with 300, that means there are 15 leads per month for you who are actually looking out. So if you are connecting in a right manner on the pool which you really need, let's say you are a banking company building technology products. Now you know the people who are in the Java developers within the banking domain are maybe a pool of 10,000, right? And you know that, okay, this is a pool which is very niche to me, and this is kind of a cream layer for me because they are in a similar domain and whatnot, right? So with that mindset, you start doing your pool building. So you're reaching out to 3,000 people a month, 10% acceptance, 300. That means there are 15 possible leads a month which is popping out to you. And trust me, if you build this for a year, what's happening? The kind of a network you've built. If you do this for entire, you are having a network of like at least like somewhere between 3,500 to 4,500 people, right? And that same way your leads will be like every month you'll have at least like 100, 150 leads, right? So that is where contextual networking is very, very, very important. Today it's not happening because we work with 5 stacks, 7 stacks, 8 stacks, and at that given point of time, whatever that stack is, we just go ahead, deliver for that stack, right? We are not very stack specific or role specific to build our persona, right? So we'll talk about why we need to do that. Okay. So here you're going to see why recruiters need to spot a niche, right? Why is that recruiters need to spot a niche for themselves? Today, with automation happening every now and then, right? Any redundant task, any repetitive task will get automated. And I strongly believe sourcing will get automated at least to a 70% or 75% extent, right? That is what I strongly believe. But there will be a space around 20-30% which is difficult to automate for XYZ reasons, which we'll talk about it later. Okay, now in this scenario of automation, what becomes very, very mandatory is, are you being an SME for a particular role for a particular staff? Why is that you need to be an SME in the first place? Let's say you are someone who hires only for big data engineers, right? I'm not saying just big data, maybe that is your priority, right? When that is your priority and you keep building that network only around that, what's happening? The big data people start knowing you. You become a brand, right? Okay, big data hiring, this is the person I need to be going forward to, right? Now, this brand is actually going to help you to get out of this 30% clutch, right? So we are stuck with this world of 30% hike, 30% hike. Now I'll tell you how being an SME can help you get out of the 30% zone. I'll tell you how. Today, if you go attend an interview, right? What happens mostly? People talk about maybe the number of offers they've done, number of joinees, right? How good they are in sourcing, Boolean, LinkedIn, and all that, right? That is something which people talk about, right? That is one piece. Now, can you really gauge that? How good someone is? Can you really gauge it? You can. What is the maximum you can do? You can give him a sourcing test and ask him to source. That is one thing, something you can do. Can you verify? Really go about verifying? Okay, did he give so many offers, so many joinees? Can you do that? Difficult. So you will rely more on the attitude and other aspects of things to gauge the person. But let's say if you are someone who believes in contextual networking and building a tool and you want to be SME, right? Let's say DevOps. Now you've been building tool around you for a year and you have, let's say, 5,000 DevOps engineers around your profile. Okay. Now you can go to a company which is majorly working with DevOps engineers. Maybe it's a cloud-based company or whatever, right? Which hires majorly DevOps engineers. So now when you go to the company, you know that this company majorly hires for DevOps engineers. Now you could tell that company, hey, look, I'm not into this 30%, 40% hike. I want something better. I'll tell you why I want it better. You need to validate it, right? It's not like, okay, my friend got it, or maybe you should be giving it, right? You need to validate why. That is where contextual networking is important. So that's where you will tell, hey, look, my profile, I have 5,000 DevOps engineers around my profile, out of which I believe this is a very, very cream layer. Maybe the 3,000 is a cream layer for the kind of hiring you guys do, right? So considering the fact everyone moves in 18 to 20 months, one company, imagine the number of people I can generate as a lead, right? Because I have a very good 3,000 cream layer for the kind of hiring you guys do. I have that kind of DevOps engineer. Overall is 5,000. Now you go sell value. You're talking about value. You're talking about how is that you being a SME around DevOps can help them brand better. Right? It's not just the job, right? If let's say I'm a company which keeps hiring DevOps people in and out because I'm in a cloud-based company or whatever, right? Then I would be impressed because there's a lot of value in your profile, right? As I told you, you're connected with the right kind of people, right? And I know that, okay, I can, as a company, I can push some kind of a branding initiatives through your profile because there's a good amount of DevOps people who are connected to it, right? So that is where if you can pick up one niche, start working towards that niche, trust me, that will help you get out of the 30% clutch, right? You will not be there anymore. And then, yeah, so you'll be a known brand because that's where you'll be interacting with only one particular niche, right? So you'll become known, right? And then you can be a brand ambassador for your organization, as I told you, right? As I told you, the company which is hiring you will also see this way. Okay, this person is connected to 5,000 DevOps engineers, right? And 3,000 is very, very cream to us, the kind of hiring we do. So let's use this person's persona profile to generate more branding, right? So that is how, for recruiters, building a niche is very, very important. I'll just add a couple of, whenever I've been talking about building a niche, I've been talking about this for last 1.5 years in some of my consulting assignments, not in my trainings. Okay. Recruiters were hesitant. They were really hesitant in order to be an SME of 1 or 2 stacks. The reason they had was, the reason they came up with and they were telling is, basically they were saying, we will lose a grip on other skills. Right? What they were saying, we will lose a grip on other skills. Then the next question was, what do you mean by grip? What do you mean by grip? It's just like going searching is a grip? Then that is not a grip, right? You need to have an in-depth candidate persona understanding. And that persona understanding, in-depth persona understanding you will get if and only if you are concentrating on one particular stack, one particular niche, right? That's when you will be able to get that particular expertise. You become an SME around that particular stack. When you are trying to be a jack of all trades, you're not going to master anything, right? Because you're just like everywhere, here a bit, there a bit, right? So if you do this, it is not just helping you get better in terms of subject matter expert, understanding the tech stack better, right? The business terminologies and technology. Rather, it is also helping you to become a brand for yourself. And that is something which you can sell as a value to the company where you're getting hired, right? So this is an important thing. Okay, any questions with what we just spoke? Do you think this will help? Do you think this will add value? You can put it on comments if you feel this will help you add value, whatever I just said. Anyone who has question, you can just unmute and ask.
How we can decide on which particular stack we should expertise on?
Okay, amazing, nice one, cool. So there are different answers to it. How I would look at is there's something called as in a product world, right? There's something called as people who get into the market first, they have an upper hand, right? Like Paytm came into the market first with a new concept. They have an upper hand in an Indian market, right? Similarly, this concept is pretty new to people in the recruiting industry, like fairly new to people in the recruiting industry. Now, I would say you don't need much of analysis in terms of who else is building a pool, who else is building a cloud. That is not required for you. What you need to do, okay, what is that I am comfortable with? That is one thing which is very much required. It is just like people ask, which language should I code my application? The most common answer in the startup world is whichever language your developers are comfortable with. Right? This is the most common discussion in the startup world. People will come and ask, which language should I use to build my app? The startup community says, whatever language your developers are comfortable with, go with it. Right? Similarly, first point, whatever you are comfortable with. You feel like, okay, I feel I'm comfortable with UI development, right, or DevOps. That is one way to go about. Point two, the next way to go about, look at the industry trends. Right? Today, data science is not as hot as it was maybe a year or 2 years back. Right? If you look at it, the trend is changing. Now, the trend is more on the DevOps side, right? More on the marketing, branding people, storytelling people, right? User experience people. So the trend is changing. So now you feel like, okay, maybe I want to build a pool around DevOps because that is the happening thing, at least for like next few years, right? And it is a happening thing because people do need to manage their scalability and stuff. So like this, if you can look at the industry and then figure out, okay, based on the industry, I'll have more value for myself if I build around this. Then yeah, that is one of the ways to go about. First is if you like me, right? If you like something, there's nothing like that. If, for example, I love recruitment. Today I'm building a network around recruitment, right? Decent understanding of technology, I didn't want to go there. I love building a pool around recruitment because that is something which is close to my heart. Similarly, if there's something else which is close to your heart and you want to build a pool around it, then go with it. Or else the second answer is do some analysis, insights, research. So that will help you build your portfolio, your brand around that particular skill set. Okay? Hope that helps. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Anything else?
My question is that when we are working for a particular client and if the recruiter is from a background of consultancy, how he will decide for a particular niche because he have to work for different clients and different positions.
Exactly. Cool. Nice one. Okay. So I generally tell people whether you're from an agency background or whether you're from a corporate background, doesn't matter. There is something called as 70% of your roles which you work on is more or less similar, right? And based on you go, if you're an agency, go look at a pattern, right? In the last 5 years, what is the most similar kind of positions you've got, right? Maybe you would say, okay, backend is 30%. Maybe UI is like 15%. You'll have those analysis. If you don't have it, you need to have those data points, right? You need to ensure you get those data points in place. So these data points will help you to plan your future better. Point one. Point two, agencies do one big blunder. What is a blunder? Hey, any tech requirement I'll work. For me, it's blunder. Any tech requirement I'll work. For me, it's blunder. You need to be more positioning yourself as an SME because the industry is changing, right? Industry is only for SMEs, right? There's automation coming in. When automation comes in, the value is SME. There's no value to your search, what you write, just to get resumes and all that, right? So there's no value there, right? You need to be an SME. So even as an agency today, if I'm starting an agency, I'll try to build a niche, right? And I'll say like, hey, I don't hire for that tech role which you're asking for. I hire for something else. Why? Because I've already built a pool for it. Maybe 4-5 5, 6 roles. I've built a pool. Now I need to go take this pool, sell it to corporates, right? Telling, hey, look, this is the kind of a pool I have around me. So are you looking to hire, right? Because I have a network. Because agencies, what they do, I have database. What the shit database is? Database is nothing. I say this, database is no more a gold mine. A click of a button, you get data now. There's no call as database being gold mine. But if you can build a network around your profile, then there's a persona, there's a branding to it, right? And that is what adds value, right? So as an agency, I believe agencies should start looking at this model of moving towards in the SME side of things. The future is heading towards, right? Cool, fair enough. Anything else, guys? Before we move ahead, anything else?
Hi, Ashfaq.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'm asking in line with the session. I understand we create the group or we try to connect with the people which we are hiring or whatever. So as a recruiters or the TA person, do you have any tips in mind where we can brand ourselves or keep the candidates warm or attract candidates? See, just that we send requests that will not help. Any tips where we need to do some activity as a recruiter or TA person to grab the attention of the candidates?
Okay, so nice question again, right? So there are two things when it comes to grabbing the attention. Point one is you are trying to entice the candidate to talk to you. That is one piece of it, grabbing the attention. Second piece of it is you have grabbed the attention. This candidate has applied for an interview, right? He's part of the interview process now. But you need to keep him warm, keep him engaged, right? So there are two aspects to it. One is first is you need to entice the candidate, ensure he replies for you. The second is keeping him warm once he has applied to it, right? There are two different sides of the same coin, basically. What I would tell is first piece, enticing the candidate depends on the kind of a pool, right? If you're talking to a larger pool, right, you need to write a message which should look like personalized, and if it is not that personalized, that's fine, right? You need to frame a message which should look personalized, right? But if it is not that personalized, but that's totally cool. Like for example, we've been using automation in recruiting monk for last 10 days, right? My profile and Ishman's profile, we've been using it. So what I've crafted a message. The message says like this: Hey, talent geek. What does it say? Hey, talent geek, right? And then we use some general sentences like and all that, right? Now the point is, when I'm saying hey, talent geek, while connecting to recruiters and talent acquisition people, there's one point of acknowledgement that I know you are a talent geek. Well, basically, talent acquisition person, right? Recruiter, I know that. There's one piece of acknowledgement, right? So like this, you are personalizing it, but still you're not personalizing it, right? So just like persuading the other person. That way, that is one way of doing it if you're dealing with bulk. You know, if you're dealing with very niche, your pool is like just 50, 100, then you need to take an effort of reading the profile of the candidate, see if he has written any articles, any blogs, if he's someone who's like really active on LinkedIn or Quora, whatever, and then tell him, hey, I really like that content which you had written, right? And then start the conversation. And whenever you're talking to passive candidates, whenever you have a copy-paste job description in the first shot, right, attach the job description in the first shot, never ever do that with passive candidates. Passive candidates are totally different. So you entice them first and then you talk to them. So this is one piece of it. The second piece of it is, let's say the candidate is already in, right? He's in process. Now, what you would do is when the candidate is already in process, you can come up with information which can help him. Let's say hiring manager's LinkedIn profile, right? One day you can share hiring manager LinkedIn profile, and then maybe team's LinkedIn profile that you can share one day. About the interview process, you can share one day, and then the kind of a Q&A he needs to go through before taking up the interview, that is one thing you can share. And then anything about the company, funding, or any positive information you have, maybe a decent Glassdoor reviews, you can share. So I've spoken about 5 models, meaning 5 touch points, 5 days, right? Like this, you can come up with content which can entice the candidate. Just simple. You put yourself as a candidate. What kind of a content or information you would be happy to get if you're going for an interview, right? And still there's a gap, like 5 days, 6 days, 1 week, whatever. Then what kind of information you would like to get as a candidate? And a similar kind of information your candidate would also like to get. So you can use some bit of automations around this, right? There are a lot of mailing automation tools we to set it up and then it keeps rolling in, right? So yeah, that is what it is. Hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, So we move ahead. Okay, yep. So this is what I was talking about, building data pool, right? I keep saying this, data is not gold mine anymore. It's not, right? People can get data in a click. It's not a gold mine. Context is, okay, everyone can get data. So the context, and if you can build a pool around you and be a brand which keeps resonating all with it, that is more important, not a dead data, right? That is not important these days. You get it. Okay, and the next thing, the advantage is like, you need to engage with your contextual network. Now, first piece is building the contextual network. Only once you build, second piece comes, how can I engage with my network, right? To engage with network, again, as a recruiter, what kind of a content you would, as a talent acquisition person, what kind of a content would make you click, like, comment, share, whatever, right? What kind of a content? So maybe a content which is around, which is what? Around your industry, right? Some valuable content, you will like it. Maybe some kind of a little meme here and there around your industry, you will like it. And maybe here and there some positive stories, any positive story in general, right? So that would help, right? So like this, any of these contents which will help the person engage. That is the kind of a content you to keep coming up with and ensure your network engages with it, right? And pool building is the next sourcing. Pool building is the next sourcing. So one of the HR tech products which I really admire is Candidate ID, right? It's a UK-based software, Candidate ID. So what Candidate ID does, Candidate ID is an amazing tool in terms of building and managing your pool. There are so many levels of automation in terms of managing your pool. What they do, let's say as agency or corporate, we have tons of resumes, like 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs data. What do we do with that? It is dead. Those data is dead. So Candidate ID kind of a tool, what they do is they bring life back to these resumes by coming up with more engaging content to reach out to candidates and then see if they can keep them warm, right? Keep them with a lot of information from industry insights to company insights and all that. So that is where it is the next sourcing. How is that next sourcing? When you keep talking about it, right? It's when you keep talking, like I'll give you one simple example, right? Which you can easily relate to. Today, I have a fairly good network of recruiters around my profile, around H1's profile. I have it. Let's say there's a company which is an IT company and a recruiter out there, if he posts a TA job opening, right? That may not reach those many people because his network may not have that many TA people. But if I post it, that will have a wide reach. I need not do sourcing, right? My sourcing gets minimized to a large extent because there's already a pool around me, right? There's a pool which is resonating around me. Similarly, that is what happens when you're building a pool. Pool building becomes your next sourcing. You need not do sourcing, right? Because there's a pool around you which just keep watching you because you are sharing the right kind of information, right? And that is how sourcing will get minimized with automation and also pool building. And Candidate ID is doing an amazing job in terms of, we did bring Adam Gordon, like 4 months back for one of these series which we did. There's a YouTube video around this. If you want, you can go watch it on Recruiting Monk. There's a YouTube video by Adam Gordon, which talks about pool building, right? So how they go about doing it. That's a very interesting thing. You guys need to go check it out, right? So yep, that is the next sourcing, right? Pool building. Okay, now talking about LinkedIn stories or maybe even LinkedIn posts, anything. Very simple funda. What can I post? What shouldn't I post? Post anything you want, but never overdo it. And ensure your content is a mix, right? You have a pretty mixed content. You can post memes as well, totally cool. But that doesn't mean all 5 days you keep posting memes. No, mix your content. Some industry insights, industry reports, right? So some event happening, and yes, some job description as well, right? So that is how it will help. Just to keep pushing job descriptions, no one is interested because no one is looking for a job all 365 days, right? Once in 18 months is the average when people look out for jobs. So why should I interact on your post, which is just jobs? As recruiters, that's what we do mostly is jobs. Or else we share a recruiting content. Why would a techie like a recruiting content? Right? He would not like a recruiting content, right? So yep, if you want to post stories or anything, right? Post anything which you feel will entice the candidate, bring more brand to yourself and your company, right? Whatever can, because the story is the major reason why stories are there being copied from Insta and Facebook is for a branding purpose. And it's not for an engagement purpose. Why? Because on a story you cannot like, comment, and get that visibility with other networks. Doesn't happen. It happens only on the post. So stories is just to brand yourself for within your network, right? So if you understand that, then what you need to do is look at what is that my network around me would feel wow about if I post, right? If I post some story, he needs to feel wow about either me or about the company which I'm working with. That is where the brand is. Either you brand yourself or you brand the company, right? So that is where on stories, post anything and everything you want, but keep a mix of things and always keep candidate in mind, just thinking whether he would like it, whether the candidate would enjoy the content which you're sharing. Oh yeah. So this is something very important. Okay, so now if you look at this, what is this? So this talks about the importance of sourcing in CN. CN means contextual network building, right? What is it? Let's take a role, for example, maybe a UI developer role. So when you pick up a UI developer role and you are on LinkedIn, can you come up with a funnel like this for a UI developer role? What does funnel means? Let's say the funnel is split into, okay, there's a 10,000 data set, which is 100% accurate in terms of like, they are UI developers, right? You are bang on, you're very sure. Why you are sure? Because of your search. Looking at the search, you know, okay, at least on papers, because when we search, right, we search on papers, right? On papers, the guy should match. That is our first criteria. And then we do engagement and all that. So the first criteria of search is what? On papers, how is someone? So you need to know to build a pool funnel for, if at all you have to do even market intelligence, and also if you have to do a good contextual networking, right? So in this case, what you will do, let's say UI developers, I know there is 10,000 UI developers who are just 15,000, who is what, 80-90% match because of your search, right? The kind of a search you have written. And then 7,000, and can you segregate your pool like this, which is called like you're coming up the funnel for your pool, right? This can happen only if you can write searches in a that you will know. This is something which I've been attended series or the L1 L2 series. They talk about problems in data and video searches, right? If you can do this, it's going to help you build your pool. Why? Because this search, like whatever 5, 6, 7, 8 searches which I've used for 10,000 profiles is 100% bang on. So blindly, I can put it on an automation tool. I can reach out to my audience, right? Because reaching out to your audience, you need to know, be confident you're reaching out to the right audience. Maybe you're sending a message and that guy is not a UI developer, back-end developer. What's happening? You're reaching a wrong audience with a different message, basically. It is a negative brand. So in order to that, you should be very sure about the funnel of the search which you're creating, and then you know, okay, how healthy it is, right? 100%, 80%, 90%, all that. And then you shoot your even whether it is manual or automation, whatever, right? That's up to you, whether you do it manually or automation. In both the cases, you should know the kind of a crowd you are hitting upon, and that can only if you know how to write searching funnel. Okay, so now what you're seeing is one simple example of what I've been doing to build a data funnel. And this is how a funnel looks like, right? So you look at this search, which is in front of you. So this is like I've written, okay, this particular search yields me 7,900 data points, right? This is a one bucket. And what I've done, I have sliced that bucket into smaller bites. This is 930, 450, 600, 300. This is the search. And these are sub searches, right? 2A, 2B, and it goes on like 2C and all that. So just for a DevOps role, when I was slicing the data set for one of my clients, right, while I was doing an assignment to help them build a market intelligence, actually I wrote 65 for DevOps, 65 unique searches for DevOps role. So this is how it is written, right? You go slice by slice. This is the 7,000 into 3,000 and then 400, two different data sets. And then inside that, you write subsets of your data. Why finding is very important because I search and tell you, okay, this first search gives me 100%, second search gives me 90%, whatever, right? I can look at the search and tell you what is the kind of results which I'm going to get because that is what I'm defining here, right? In terms of the search. And then the main point here is none of these search has overlapping data sets. Each pie is a different pie basically, right? So if you can do this, then contextual networking becomes very easy and you know the kind of audience you're hitting upon because you know how relevant they are, right? So yep, this building probabilistic models is something which is very important. Automation don't change. Okay, automation do's and don'ts. Like, okay, automation is basically a good friend of us as long as we use it gently, not using it too much, right? As long as automation is a good buddy, right? So we should know where should we use this automation and to what extent. Let's say you are inviting people, right? So you don't invite more than 100, 120 folks per day because LinkedIn needs to watch. Whatever automation tool you use, you can say send 100, 120 requests a day, no problem. But what you do once in 3 days or 4 days, go to your invite sent, right? Let's say in 3 days you have sent to 300. Out of 300, let's say some 20% accepted. That is 60, right? But there's 240 which didn't accept. After 3-4 days, what you do is you take back the request because LinkedIn keeps a track of are you using automation just to bombard people with invitation requests. So it keeps a track of it. So if you're using any tool or doing it manually, both the cases it is applicable. What you do is if you send like once in 3-4 days, go refresh and see how many people have not accepted it. And then you can just uninvite, right? You can pull your invite back, which helps you and your profile will not be like under the scanner of LinkedIn and all once you start doing it because LinkedIn will feel like, okay, there's a human behind it, right? Cool. And then messaging limitation is around 115 mails within your first degree. So if you want to send out message your first degree, then what? Send it out to like max 150 people, not more than that to your first degree. If you're using even automation, 130 to 150 is what is feasible. If you go beyond that, then you come under the scanner of LinkedIn, right? So this is something which I've been telling you based on my personal experiences of using automation tool for last 2 weeks or so, right? So based on those experiences and what I've seen happening online, so these are the right numbers which would help you. Cool. So here is the secret sauce of how we are doing it, right? Monk secret sauce in terms of how we are reaching out to more people, right? How we are building our pool. So what has happened is last, I think 10 days or something, we had reached out to sending requests to 1,000 people, out of which I believe some 350 or 100 accepted. So this is something which is happening. We are contextually reaching out to talent acquisition community, right? The recruiting community, and then it is being done by the bot, right? Now, how is this happening? We use a tool which is basically an in-house tool which we had built it ourselves. What we do is we just put basic search filters like just like keyword, title, and then maybe like what location, current company, past company, right? Industry, whatever, right? Whatever is on LinkedIn, you define what kind of a data you want to reach out to, right? Once you have defined it, what happens? These are the search clusters. These are the search clusters. So I have created these many search clusters. And then what you could do is once the search cluster is created, click that search cluster and then send an invite to people. So it will start sending 100 requests a day by itself from the account, right? So this is a secret sauce which we've been using to make our network big. So here's the thing. What we are doing is we are giving this invitation automation tool free of cost for people who are part of the coaching series, right? So we're doing a 3 months coaching series, 100 hours coaching series. What we are doing is we are giving this tool as a free of cost for people who are joining the coaching series. That is one thing. And then the paid version, maybe it might come in like a couple of months if people want to use it, right? But the cost will be very, very minimal, not be like hefty because we built it for our own use, right? I don't mind giving it for a very less price, right? Because we are using it for other purposes and it's working really well. So I would love to share this with the community for a very less cost, which will take care of our servers, right? So, yep. So this is where we end in terms of contextual networking. So it's Q&A time. Any questions? You can unmute and shoot. Any question, guys? Can you put it on the chat? Was this helpful in terms of getting an idea of what is contextual networking, right? Others, whoever doesn't have a question, can you put it on the chat? Was it helpful in terms of getting a brief idea of what is contextual networking and how that it will help in a TA context, in a recruiting context? Did the session help? Because it's the first time I'm doing this session, so just your feedback would help to understand if that was valuable.
We understand that we have to develop, right? But the thing, suppose I'm just starting the recruitment, like this recruit career, like I have 5 to 2 years of experience. Now we understand that sometimes there are positions like one of
Abhishek, your voice is breaking.
a person who's to only pages, not to the front end side. Just send it on chat. I guess there's some problem.
Yeah. Anyone else, guys? Any questions?
So how we can balance this requirement load which we are receiving, let's say from the client's end, in order to, let's say, specialize in one area as well as also answer those client requirements on a daily basis, because we are definitely working, let's say, almost 3 to 5 requirements in a day. So how we can, let's say, manage to carve our niche.
Got it. Good one. So basically what could do is, so this is something, an exact problem statement which I had during my consulting assignment. This was like 6 months back. I was helping a company build a contextual network pool around like a team of 5 members. And then there was this challenge in terms of they had, I think, some 3 or 4 roles which they were hiring repetitively, right? And other than that, they did have some 6 or 7 roles which they hired once in a while, which was happening. So now, how do we build a pool? So what I told people is, you need to split the teams, right? So you need to know what is that you're trying to achieve, and you need to split the team, right? So how is that you can split the team? Let's say there are 3-4 requirements which happens every time, right? You know that this is available every month. It is there, 5 positions, 10 positions. So now there's a need around a niche for you as a company, right? Whether you're an agency or a corporate, doesn't matter. Even being an agency, you can really chalk out at least 2 skills, which is there day in, day out. You know it. When you know it, when you're confident about it, then what do? You put a team to build pool around it, right? That's how it goes about. There needs to be beginning, is what I'm saying, right? I always keep saying recruitment people don't need hacks and techniques. We need a lot of mindset changes in terms of our approach, in terms of dealing with data sets, right? That is something which is very important in the industry than like a bunch of hacks or techniques, right? That is not something which is going to yield you, because I always believe technology plus process is the future, right? Someone who knows how to use tech and process. So this is a combination of both, right? Even in terms of a process, you need to be operationally strong, and you decide, okay, these are the 2 skills, and I'll put a team of 4-5 people to build a contextual pool, 4-5-1-2, whatever. That's a call taken based on the need, right? And then, yes, I know there's a bunch of skills which is not repetitive, which comes or doesn't come. Then I'll have a fluid team there, right? I'll have a fluid team. Now, let's say I have a fluid team of 10 members, and then after 6 months, I see that there is one more role evolving, which every month 5 positions, right? Now, what you do, you take that role from fluid and make it into the CN model, contextual networking, and put one recruiter there. So my point is, recruitment all about
stepping stone towards that. Hope.
Ashfaq, I have one question.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, s- can you hear me? Ashfaq, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
now.
okay. So, you were telling that we have to build a niche and be a subject matter expert of any kind
Hmm.
of tech stack or something. So, how we
Yes.
can go about something, some job titles which are very general in sense like business analyst or like product managers or something like that, project manager,
Okay.
because these kind of
Hmm.
functional or technical job, there are functional tech project managers and business analysts. So is there any way we can think like that, or is it like again we have to go in depth and see that what kind of job they have been doing and then build a pool of candidates around that?
Exactly. Cool. So, yep. So you have answered that question. So what you said is right. So when you want to be an SME, obviously that means you are someone who is willing to do a lot of candidate persona analysis, right? Get the right understanding of the candidate. So yes, you are heading towards being a niche, right? Being an SME towards one particular stack. So you should be spending some time trying to understand the different variants of the stack, right? Different flavors of the stack, and how is that you can go about getting the right kind of an audience. Yes, I understand product manager, business analyst, very functional roles, KRA driven roles, not specific with tools and technologies and languages, right? So yes, in that case, you need to be very someone who goes understand the KRAs, candidate persona, and then frame your pool, right? And then come up with a funnel like how I described.
Thanks. So one more question. So
Yes.
you were talking about the funnel thing. So the the ratio what you have been taking the example. So is there any way I can set like a point which is good if I'm doing better with my pool already, with the pool which I'm having. So if I'm having something around 2000 connections right now, or if it is almost okay connections in LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
to specific job title. So is there
Mm-hmm.
any standard like in your experience, like okay, if I am sending or contacting any 100 candidates in a day, then what
Mm-hmm.
would be the final lead result I should be getting in that thing?
Uh,
If
uh,
I'm
yeah.
doing the all the engagement like posting sometimes and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I would tell you is one is you need to measure a lot of metrics. So,
okay.
number one metrics that you measure is let's say if I'm posting, right, what is the contextual audience interacting with me, right? Let's say if I post something around technology, whatever your audience is, right? You need to look at the metrics. Okay, I'm posting 5 days a week, and on average, my view is maybe 15,000 views I get in a week, and out of 15,000, 3,000 or 8,000 views is within my network, right? So that is how you measure yourself whether your network is engaging, right? That 2,000 people or 3,000 people, whatever you are you're connected with, right? So that is one way of measuring it. Second way of measuring is in terms of let's say connection request, invitation request. This needs to keep evolving with time. Okay, another you need to keep looking at your like your analytics, your dashboards in terms of I have sent, let's say in last quarter, I reached out to maybe like 10,000 people. How many did they convert? Okay, out of 10,000, maybe 30%. Can I make it 35? Then maybe you tried coming up with a better write-up, or maybe you go to a copywriter who is telling you, hey, look, you can come up with this. This is more better. And then you measure it for like a couple of months and see whether you're hitting 35% or 40%, right? So this is how you can go about measuring your metrics, whether it's in terms of engagement or in terms of sending invitations.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Anything else, guys, before we wrap it?
Ashfaq, in the end, can you highlight some post examples, like what you were speaking about, the things which the Java developer will like, right? Not the things which we post generally, like something like that. So what kind of post will be engaging?
Yeah, cool. What kind of post would be engaging? One, you can just go Google it and go to Quora or check it out. What are the top 5 architecture blogs on Java? Right, share that right on your wall. Maybe tag a bunch of 5 Java architects. Hey, tell them like, hey, I believe you might like it, right? And if they engage, their network engages, right? You could do this, and then what? You can stay in touch with the tech world, right? In terms of follow Stack Overflow closely, GitHub closely, reports and all that. Keep sharing that. Anything which will add value to a techie, right? That is what you need to be looking in those lines. Can I come up with content which is interesting? And yeah, obviously memes, okay, tech memes, but don't overdo it. Weekly ones is super cool, right? Tech memes is another thing which you can add it to your engagement post, right? So yeah, this is how you bring up a composition of different posts and then make sure your audience is engaging enough, right? The concept is very simple. What would you like? You would like to get recruiting knowledge, right? Anything around TA, anything around AI, around TA, HR tech, right? Maybe some meme then and there, right? Around TA, right? This is the kind of a content you would like, right? Maybe a HR or a recruiting event happening somewhere. You would like it. Similarly, that is what your audience is going to like, but the industry is technology. That's all.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, cool. Cool, guys. Anything else before we wrap it? All good? No questions? Cool. Okay, so it was amazing having you for the session, right? Hope you had some takeaways. This was just to shed some light on networking, right? How do you build an SME around yourself, right? Subject matter expert and be a tech stack expert. Hope this helps. You can start implementing it, right? If you want to have any questions around this, you can feel free to maybe reach out to me on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, email, whatever you're comfortable with. So it was amazing having you. See you, right? Have a good evening. Chalo. Thank you.